Looks like the screen's dirty to say. Oh, it's the lens there. Is that a bit better? Yeah, that's better. Always keep the screen clean. Anyways, I'm coloring up some areas of my life. I'm going to put behind me and flush. Psychiatry. Is it wrong? Well, they don't know how to heal people because it doesn't work with one caution or one thought form. We're all mad. Everybody's mad. Psychiatry's insane. They're nuts. They got into a Newtonian theory that the mind, that it's all the world way we think of psychiatry. Like they label people bipolar, ADHD. We're finding this is all major trauma. So there is a science to it. We'll talk about the science of past traumas in our lives and trauma that is integrated traveling and meeting First Nations people. I understand this. Today it's we're in Australia. You're talking about the yes vote. I can't see any other way but yes. I'm part Aboriginal on my grandfather's side. So here's the science I've learned. Generational trauma affects the DNA molecules, the strand. But we're so arrogant, we don't know much about that, eh? Well, that bit of science we can use. So I had trauma from generations and generations of repressive Australian colonialization of our Aboriginal people. Well, First Nations of Canada, the same thing. And I just saw my life changing. I became an environmentalist, a concerned, empathic person. My mother was a World War II military nurse for the Australian Armed Forces in Papua New Guinea. Now, she had trauma, generational trauma. She was given up for adoption when she was a child, a baby, to a Melbourne old woman to live with. Now, she was an attractive woman, even though she was half blood. My wife, when I was married, she laughed at me. She saw this brow. Well, that's about the only trait I've got out of that ancestry, the high brow of Aboriginal descent. I meet First Nations. They know have some sort of energy of this ancient culture. Now we're discovering Aboriginals, and we're all one. We're just all the ancient cultures on Earth. So I'm very deeply spiritual. I've explored radical metaphysical spirituality for years. And since the 70s, 1970s, didn't like the energy sector. Harley Mowat said greed and need are the problem. Yeah. Commodities, markets, and storing energy makes humans a defective species. Well, Farley was a drunk because he had to cope with this awareness. of being an environmentally minded man that could not fathom justification. I was a drunk too for a while. I drink a bit, one or two drinks maybe when I go out. That's all. So there's no absolutes. There is absolutely no absolutes. I'm a Reiki master. I'm a healer. But that's another thing that could be demonized. I'm an horse intuitive. I'm a clairvoyant that way. Clairaudient, clairvoyant. And I had to come in to realize that these are my abilities and I'm going to use them. I'm 68. I faced these mind-based ideologies of psychiatry all my life. My mother used to send me to a psychologist. Well, I was looking at what my life was. She was always working in nursing. And my father was working. I was left out in the country alone. So they wondered why I'm so quiet. Because I was communicating with animals. I was living a very pastoral life. So I was drawn to Mennonites and Amish people. I was drawn to the old order of doing things the old way. I picked up in 1969. I think I bought it. I don't have it. They threw it out. Nothing has value to those kids. I'm in a lawsuit about it, which is a very hard thing for a kind man. So we talk about empathy burnout. Hell, here we go. You quit your job if you can't, if the kitchen's too hot, and learn some grassroots empathy. Maybe go to a Buddhist retreat, meditate for about a couple of months before you get up on and tell people, don't be an empathetic sponge. That's so wrong. Don't get into healthcare if you can't cook. Take the heat in the kitchen. Because there is an empathy and a compassionate suffering around us. But what do we suffer on? Watching news broadcasts, it's mind numbing. Social media is mind numbing. It's absolutely a drug, an opioid. I know addiction. Who's good at addiction? Play the piano, play the guitar. It's an addiction, but it's a positive addiction. Focus, writing, being free of all these ideas. Do I take drugs? No. I got off the pharmaceutical racket about 19 when I turned 60. That's 8 years of drug-free life with no pharmaceutical. Now, the long time I had to realize that this is all BS, manure. Was there anything wrong? Yeah, I had an empathy burnout. I was driving taxi for 10 years. I did it. Why? My mother was dying of Parkinsonian disease, another fiction that they say is nothing to do but a genetic disease. No, it's environmental. It was DDT toxins, okay? My eyes turned out because of DDT toxins. I'm not a eugenicist like these medical practice is saying. Sounds like I'm angry. Good. Noted. Feel the emotions. Let it go. Can you let an emotion go? So I studied a lot of courses. I studied psychology. I studied every course I could and advanced my Reiki skills up to Grandmaster. Kundalini Reiki, understanding the Kundalini fire. And what diabetes bad at my age. is dating online. I can't do it. All my life was being questioning why people do things. Jesus said on the cross, Lord, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That's where the point he had to come to ascension. And you'll find this in life. You'll question. I'm an honest person. Why would they do that? The untethered mind of justifying is caused by fear, sloth, and greed. To get out of these cycles, one has to study Buddhist psychology. Absolutely. Do I take drugs? Yeah. Great key. I absorb energy and I pray and I do EFT tapping. I write and journal. I put gratitude in my life. Do I have depression? I'm just having sleep problems. So I'm working on them. I'm not a Luddite. I use an Apple Watch and I log things. When I walk, I meditate. I go to the park benches and meditate. And I start being happy that I don't have to own everything to be happy. Happy for others. I look at the synchronicity of life. I listen to a lot of spiritual audiobooks and blogs on here that are spiritual. There's some I vacate. That guru is off my list because I do Reiki. And yeah, there is a problem with Reiki if you don't ground yourself and protect the energy. So I broke off with a friend of mine that was doing Reiki. I said, don't use white light. You got to surround it with gold. She said, nonsense. She was going by some young girl that got a Reiki degree. Well, it draws in darkness. It has to be shielded by the gold. Yeah, the light and dark. So I use Kundalini gold energy every time I heal. Doing animals, I use a grid. Now, I found that animals know the energy they need when I'm doing a distance healing on a horse. Grid. I charge the energy into the crystals. I'm attuned to crystals. I'm not just voodoo. I've been attuned to the energy of crystals. Etheric energies, chi balls, everything. I do that. We are all powerful. God, remember Jesus said in the Bible, the blind man touched his robes and he could see. So what was Jesus' words? If you read this correctly, you can do all. Your faith made you whole, which is surrender. And you can do this and even greater. I talk to a lot of older people that are older than me. They don't live worrying about dying. They live right now. We're always going through these life crises. Terrible life crises. I'm 32. I haven't accomplished anything. Haven't you? Introspection. You've accomplished quite a bit to get to 32 or 28 or any age. So I sit in the present moment, not worrying about death coming. I've come to a theory that life, there's no certainty in life. So trying to make meaning everything, write that off. Do not make meaning out of your life. That's a wasted life. It makes you feel secure. So you're working on the reptilian brain of safety. There's no certainty principle. Yeah, there is a certainty principle. All certainty. The only certain thing is uncertainty. That doesn't sound good, does it? Anything can happen. Bruce Coburn saw it. I could walk out there. You hit by a bus, it's gone, But it's our relationship to what spiritual essence we are. See, that's the problem. We live in this physical body, living in here all the time. Kant, I think, for him. So what is thinking? Communication, talking. That's all that is. Figuring out, problem solving, it's a good tool. This is a pen. I write with it. But do you see me writing all the time? But I'm holding on to it like an attachment. So I'll put the lid on it, put it down. So my childhood was, getting back to some of the points here, everything in our life, if we go back and back to our childhood, was I dealt a bad set of cards. I don't think so. The dealer shuffled which God puts you on earth. You look at your life. Know thyself was something I learned. And that takes, like the Buddha, introspection. So I go back to when I was a child. I can remember little events. How can you remember that? These brains are meant to have memory in them long term. Senility, all this stuff. What my theory of senility is sitting around watching TV or scrolling on your phones. That's senility. Leaving space between the notes of thought and meditation practice won't hurt you. So what are we going to talk about here? Empathy. Well, empathy is like anger. Let's put emotional intelligence in things there. Anger is an emotion. Empathy is an emotion. So, anger. Feel anger. Feel and be aware that somebody's making you angry or you feel offended. These are emotions. Is it right or wrong to have those emotions? Oh, chatbots came on. Is it right or wrong? No, it's who you are. You can't negate your feelings. There's a lot of methods I've learned to get past all this. I do self-healing every day with Reiki. I do 24 positions on my body every day, like brushing my teeth. And the energy goes in because I've had a lot of damages. Psychiatric drugs, it was a damage. Emotional, not making sense of why people do that. And coming into being honest, there's things I did that were not of good nature. Realizing that these emotions our sexuality, our needs, our self-regulating in our lives. And bipolarity. Let's talk about bipolarity. I've dated a lot of women that are bipolar. And I tend to see this over sexual energy coming in. And I felt it too myself. It in trauma therapy is a form of regulating this flight or flee program. Sexual improprieties are done with people in trauma. Think about it. Police officers raping other police officers, military raping military women. What's going on? It's a form of regulating our trauma. So that is a science. I've helped one soldier not off himself. He was going to off himself. I mean, he was going to do a full suicide. He recovered. And when a man recovers, he's got resilience. Let's talk about this. If you can get past these emotional problems, but look at people. They go into retreats and becoming Buddhist nuns. You can live like that. It's up to you. You become a reclusive, or you go out in the world with resilience of years of working on yourself. There's no pill for getting over emotional problems. There is one pill. Work at it. Start asking yourself questions about your life. Why am I not spending time looking after myself? Why am I burning out? If you're a care practitioner, you need to take a break. But these are isms. The medical system is an ism. It doesn't give breaks, does it? I've seen nurses burning out all the time, practitioners, nurses. So you talk about don't be an empathetic sponge. You're supposed to give it over to God and realize some awakening spiritual principles of life instead of believing in these stories of empathy burnout. That's getting into a self-regulating traumatic event in your life. You can't cope with the overwhelm. You ever seen the film Passchendaele? My father is World War I veteran. Signed up at 16. They weren't ready for that, but they signed up. Imagine watching arm-to-arm bayonet combat, and you're 16 years old. Shells are flying over, and you're seeing them bayonet each other. Muddy murder. Arm to arm, stabbing each other. Horrible violence. You're 16 years old. You don't know what the hell you got yourself into. The First World War. An industrial war. Somebody said to me, this is interesting. He said, I studied the American Civil War. I think it was a banker's war. Sir, this war here, Ukraine and Russia, it's not a banker's war. It's a banker's war of failing systems and stored energy. It's always been that way. World War II was that way. It was like now Hitler. Defeated, came back, and got pointing fingers like all the scoundrels do. Far right, far left, point fingers at each other. Racism, homophobia, everything. Because it's a powerful tool for collective consciousness that Jung would say this global collective is very ill right now. Anyways, empathy. So you feel empathy for people, right? You're feeling you going down, 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 down to their suffering. And you were absorbing all that on you. It's good to feel it, but let it go. It's an emotion. Anger is a fire. It's like a stop sign. Boy, I'm angry. Animals get this natural defense system, but they don't hold on to it. Go into the park and watch ducks. Sure, they have a pecking order. All herd animals, all wildlife does. So one bird comes over too close to the other. I got to keep their boundaries. He'll flap his wings, but he won't say, I'm going to get you. He could look over. Cats and dogs, they tend to get in these behaviors because they absorb these traits of humans, which we are really dualistic. We ate of the forbidden fruit. Duality. If I say duality, somebody say, what are you talking about? Why try to explain it? Do you know? What is duality? And generalizing. What is generalizing? You can't be off psychiatric medications. They said you have bipolar 1. She said you can't play piano at age 60 and just start up and want to play like that. That's a lie. I had it. You can do anything you want. You have enough passion, you can do anything. But playing guitar since I was 8 years old taught me a lot about music. So just another instrument. Like learning a language. Being adaptable. This brain doesn't shut down. As we age, this is Mother Jones, a bunch of libertarian movement telling people that the brain gets shut down. Cognitive function. So the words I speak had a little bit of a direction here. I just wrote down about four areas. The neuroscience is the problem with medicine. It's Newtonian. It's just flat earth. We see things just, well, let's talk about it. The eugenics of medicine. Must be in the family history. It's in the genes. Not all the time. But we don't believe in past life. We don't believe in dark night of the soul. We don't believe in any of that. So how can we diagnose people, huh? Analytical science. It sounds like something to worship. Graphs, economics. I know, because look at the graph. It's going up. I can make a graph, and it's going up. Today the chart shows this graph line going up. Going up. If you can see it, it goes up. This is fiction. This is the end of growth. But nobody reads books anymore. They're not. Just use your head and listen to the BS, the program that's going on. I read a lot of books that resonate with me. Well, that's phenomenalism. Maybe. I hear that word used a lot. Maybe. No absolutes. One hand clapping. Now I'm getting really metaphorical. Because I listened to things on here on psychology. So we got to make meaning, Rick. I try to. When you surrender to no meaning, the answer will come. I always try to make meaning, Rick. Just putting a blocker on it, Rick. Oh, words. We got to have respect. We demand it. Jorgen Peterson. Why I'm against him. I meditated on that. Respect's pretty weak. If I respect anybody, is it love? I'd rather love people than respect them. I just don't like that word, respect. I love you. It's a better word. And it can go to any authority that you can see a gratitude for what they do is keeping you safe. Think about it. Give you a moment to realize love is the key to existence. It breaks down all these barriers between them being above me and them being below me. So you have no ego then. These are just fake systems so we can cope with society. So I could look at myself and compare myself to the whole collective consciousness that is insane. So I talk to myself, and I'm deemed insane. I was talking to myself, and the girl comes up beside me. It's okay. I do it too. Why do you do it? John, those other stupid girls, I don't want to hear them. They talk. It doesn't resonate with me. An individual. An individual. We're all individuals. Oh, I'm not. Like Brian. Good pun. Good humor. So she says, I just drown them out. They're crazy girls. Yeah, their Instagrams are some damn thing, aren't they, in your generation? Yeah, I want to be not hearing those voices. So an entrepreneur is a mentally ill person that wants to work for themselves. Yeah, they're not crazy. They don't want to join the scrum of looking for work because there's no certainty to anything. But there's certainty that rich people were entrepreneurs, like Steve Jobs. There's no sense to anything here. You do your passion. You know, I love playing music. I love walking. That's a passion. I eat because do I like cooking? Well, I had a wife. I cook. But, I go out and afford it, but I can't seem to. So I'm going to do a bit of life coaching. So I come on here trying to explain myself. It's a long story. It starts in the womb, right out to 68. I played music and I've been with some of the top musicians in the world in Canada. That doesn't make me better, and I've been with great racehorses. I've been in equestrian. I've traveled the world by myself. Ever do it on alone? I've done a lot of traveling by myself. There's no guarantee that you'll be safe. No guarantee in a taxi cab that you're going to be safe at night. Back then, there was no guarantee. I got shot at. Yeah, the guy robbed me for $60 and stole the cab. That was an awakening. I looked at the golden thread of that. It traumatized me. All these events in my life, like psychiatry killing me. So many drugs and so many drugs. I see it on here, and I can't believe the people. They allow them on there, those racketeers. Bitter, angry, sometimes. But I just don't believe in it anymore. That's something I don't believe in. Pharmaceutical solutions for emotional problems. I don't believe that money is just manifested. It's effort. But I believe in a direct way of going. You probably don't believe that mental illness can be cured by yourself. And you got to have somebody diagnose you to say, oh, no, it can't be. It's not on the books. It's not on the books because they won't go to you racketeers. Am I bitter? Well, because Don Cherry always said it right. Call you a liar, call you a scoundrel, you're a scoundrel. Well, that's terrible. Say it as it is, Don Cherry once quoted. Love that quote. Say it as it is. Scoundrel, psychiatrist. To me, these people couldn't cope with not being a healer, so they go and get one more PhD, Doctor of the Mind. Racket. I'll tell you, I see some of these psych majors on here doing their talks. They're in finishing their psychology degree. They're stoked. They never shut up. I said, honey, you're a one-trick pony. That's disrespectful. I'm a psychology major. Yeah, but you don't know anything about healing trauma. One-trick pony. That's an insult. I didn't call you stupid yet. They said you got no skills to help people. You can't heal trauma, you might as well quit. What are you learning? How to push drugs out there? Send them over to Dr. Wacko there? Those guys are crazy as hell. They're stoic. What ain't good stoicism? Well, I'll draw it out. Stoic. There's fire, calm, and long goes down. Nothing there. It's not expansive. It's just like the wall. Bang. You're in there. So that's what I think of this rubbish. Do I believe we have emotional psychiatric problems? Yeah. But as far as uncurable, maybe in their books it's true. But how do we define when somebody's sane? How do we define that I'm okay if you're okay? Can't do it because we're going by a bunch of BS. My anti-psychiatry, anti-pigment, or that's all. Truth is the way.